Hello and welcome to the 5 Minute Film Club. And tomorrow never dies. Although I really wish it would. The second outing for Pierce Brosnan sees James Bond go up against Rupert Murdoch wannabe Elliot Carver, played by Jonathan Pryce. He wants to orchestrate World War III so he can sell the broadcasting rights to it and go into league with China, a place that he hasn't managed to get a media foothold yet. He owns a stealth ship, which of course every media baron needs. And using a cyber terrorist, he hacks a Navy warship's computer and makes it stray into Chinese waters before sinking the ship and blowing up the Chinese planes sent to investigate it to make it look like the other side did it. Yes, so far, so you only live twice. Bond is then tasked with investigating Carver and meets up with an old flame, Paris, played by Terry Hatcher, who is now Carver's wife. Things don't go really to plan for Paris, but then again, she is this film's first Bond girl. However, at the party that he also meets Paris at, Bond meets his Chinese opposite, Wei Lin, played by Michelle Yeoh, a Chinese spy investigating Carver as well. The two team up and eventually end up aboard Carver's stealth ship as they try to stop the media mogul putting his dastardly plans into action. This is the one Pierce Brosnan film that when I came to watch them again, it never sticks with me at all. I remember all the others. This one, honestly, the plot of it just disappears out of my head the second I finished watching it. It's like trying to hold on to smoke, this film. The production of the film was not the smoothest. It was greenlit by the studio even before GoldenEye had been released, and then MGM's new owners insisted that it be released at the same time that MGM went public with their stock offering. This gave the Bond team very little time to actually come up with a script, hone it down, come up with all the action sequences, the casting, the locations, everything was rushed on Tomorrow Never Dies. And in that process to actually hit that deadline, it just pushed this budget sky high. Sadly, GoldenEye director Martin Campbell didn't return here, making way instead for Roger Spottiswoode, who among other things directed Turner and Hooch and the 1980s slasher film Terror Train. He seemingly didn't have the might in order to get this troubled Bond film off the ground. For me, Tomorrow Never Dies is an utter mess of ideas. You can see that they really wanted to tie this film into the UK-Hong Kong handover in 1997 and having an equal to Bond in Wei Lin's character. And I do really like the fight sequences, particularly her fight sequences in this film. In fact, the one area that I will give this film praise is actually its action sequences. Action set pieces are generally locked in a long time before even a finished script is delivered, and so have the longest time to actually be perfected. And so it's no wonder that they are the standout moments of this film, particularly that helicopter chase through the back streets. I also really enjoy the casting of Jonathan Pryce. You know, I like Jonathan Pryce, he's a fantastic actor, and yet he just can't do anything more with the script apart from like rubbing his hands. You know, he's just has nothing to work with, unfortunately. And then in this film, holding it together, we have the James Bond theme. And I love David Arnold, and in later episodes I'm going to be talking so much about how much I love what David Arnold is doing as a James Bond composer. But this is his first outing here, and I feel like, knowing what I know and having listened to so many of his other film scores, this is not representative of what he can do with a James Bond film. All it is, all the way through, is the James Bond theme. There are nods to kind of From Russia with Love and John Barry. He's got, it's far and away better than the score that we had for GoldenEye. But I feel like the studio saw the final film and went, we have nothing. The audience is not going to get excited by this. We need to just throw the James Bond theme at them. And it's laughable how many times they drop the main theme in this film. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like every 30 seconds they have to remind the audience that they are watching a James Bond film because they know that what they've actually filmed is not a James Bond film. With this film, they also wanted to jump on the bandwagon of the 90s Chinese cinema craze, when lots of directors left Hong Kong in anticipation of the handover, and they moved to Hollywood. And really, they should have tried to get someone like John Woo to direct this, but then they probably had a huge problem attracting anybody with a script as paper-thin as this one. Not since Diamonds Are Forever have I been this dismissive of an official James Bond film. And honestly, I think this one is a little bit worse than Diamonds Are Forever. But after the high of GoldenEye, this is such a letdown. And honestly, I've forgotten it again. And until I inevitably watch all the James Bond films, I don't know, probably in 10 years' time or whatever, I will have forgotten the majority of Tomorrow Never Dies. Again. In more recent years, people have looked at Tomorrow Never Dies and kind of seen its connection to Rupert Murdoch and what transpired during the fall of the News of the World newspaper and the phone hacking scandal, and also the stuff to do with surveillance, all of those kind of things. Well, they weren't new ideas in the 1990s. This film wasn't that forward thinking at all. The idea that media moguls have a hold on what we think and what we believe, well, that's been going on for generations. I think it's a way to try and read this film, but honestly, there are so many better films to watch that deal with the same themes than Tomorrow Never Dies. Hindsight, for me, doesn't make a good film.
They'll print anything these days.
But anyway, Pierce Brosnan managed to cling on to the role. He is probably one of the only good things about this film. And so, a few years later in 1999, they released The World Is Not Enough. So until then, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.